Now, I don't want to scare you, but you'd be shocked at what can be found out about you on the internet. When you have a moment after this talk is over, Google yourself. No, don't do it now, I'm going to lose you. I did this a year ago and was shocked at what I found. You must curate the information that appears about yourself on the internet. That is what future employers and current colleagues will see when they search your name. Make sure your LinkedIn profile is the first and perhaps only thing that comes up when your name is typed into Google. Watch closely to find out how to make that happen. So I'm going to share my profile with you. The very first thing I would like you to go and do when you get ready to update your profile is edit your public URL. This is an important step as it will enable people who search for you to find you more easily and make your LinkedIn profile appear at the top of search results in search engines. Make it easy for everyone to find you. To do this, go to the top right-hand corner of your profile page. Click on Edit Public Profile and URL. A new window will open. Click on the pencil symbol next to your current URL. You are now able to edit it. Get rid of superfluous numbers and letters next to your name and try to get a text as close as possible to your first name and surname. Now we're going to look at profile language. A relatively new feature with LinkedIn is the possibility of having your profile visible in 2 languages. I find this very useful as I'm fluent in both French and English and also work for a multinational company based in France. English speakers are automatically redirected to my English profile and French speakers to my French one. Yes, I'll admit the translation took a considerable amount of time, but as a recruiter once pointed out to me, my previous profile in Franglish was unprofessional and difficult to read. Currently, LinkedIn allows you to create up to 40 different profile languages. You have a lot of choice. To do this, select Add Profile. Click on the globe here and then select Add Profile in another language and work on from there. You see, there are hundreds to choose from. We're now going to talk about the introduction section. This section is the first thing people browsing your profile will see, so take your time over it. You can edit every part of it, not just the photo and banner. For the profile photo, please do me a personal favor and immediately take down that holiday selfie you're using. It is not professional. I don't care if you never like photos of yourself. If you don't think paying for a professional portrait photographer is worth it, make an effort. You need something where your head and shoulders are visible. If you're wearing clothes you would wear to the office and the little glasses. Keep the sunglasses and silly hats for Facebook and Instagram. They don't belong on LinkedIn. I'm going to show you how to do this now. To edit the photo, click on the photo itself and you will be prompted to change it. Yeah. The banner is this. Please don't leave this area blank. It'll take you a little while to hunt for a photo you like, but it is worth it for the difference and engagement it will bring to your profile. Holiday snaps are also banned here. Choose something that has a link to your work. It can be the picture of your office building or an official communication used by your current company, like I have done. It's also a good idea to customize and change your banner every few years to keep your profile current, as it is with your photo. To change your banner, click on the pencil and then change photo. To edit all the information you see in this section, click on the pencil. Your first name and surname are pretty straightforward. Don't hesitate to include your maiden name if some people will search for you under that. LinkedIn has recently given everyone the option to include pronouns after their name. In my support document, you will find an article explaining why you might want to do this, even if you are not part of the LGBT community. You can record your name so that people can listen to its pronunciation in the LinkedIn mobile phone app. I think it's an excellent idea if you have a challenging surname to pronounce, as it will put people more at ease when they meet you or speak to you on the phone. You can also choose to include in this section your current employer, a school you might have attended, and make sure your location is up to date. LinkedIn had automatically set my hometown in this section, but I changed it to Paris, as it is the city in which I work, and I want employers and colleagues to know that. I'm going to go through the other sections now, and if you're wondering how to add any of these sections that you might not already have, very simply click on the Add Section button here. Now let's talk about the About section. This is probably the most underutilized section on LinkedIn profiles. Most users haven't even filled it in. A shame, because here's a space where you have complete freedom to say anything you want about yourself. Please don't repeat what you've already shown in your introduction section. The viewer already knows your name, your job title, the company you work for, and which city you're based in. Tell them something they don't know. What does being an executive assistant mean to you? What are your favorite things to do in this role? What are your passions, both professionally and, if you like, personally? What are your ambitions for the future? Make them realize there's a human being behind this profile. The About section is your brand, so spend time on it. Revise and rewrite it several times if you have to, until you're happy with it. I am still regularly rewriting mine, and as I am with every section in my profile, nothing is set in stone. I think this is by far the toughest section to complete in LinkedIn, so I've given you some help in the support document. Before you start writing, have a look at the YouTube video on personal branding for EAs and PAs. Also, go hunt for inspiration by looking at the About sections of some amazing profiles I have listed. But whatever you write in this section, be honest and be yourself. Now let's talk about the featured section. This section is often used by people who have written articles and want to make sure that they are easy to find. There is more flexibility than that. You can give private place to LinkedIn posts you have written or commented on, other people's posts you have featured in, links to articles and posts outside LinkedIn and media you have created yourself, like photos and videos. Just remember, this section should complement your About section here, with content that is either meaningful to you or explains who you are. Also, renew it regularly. It is not a static section and should be reviewed to keep it up to date every few months. You have another space for content related to your current role, which I will show you later. To add content in this section, simply click on the plus sign, and to change what's already there, click on the pencil. Now let's talk about the activity section. You have no control over this section. LinkedIn updates it automatically with all your activity on their platform. As soon as you like or comment a post, it appears here. Activity sections that are empty ring alarm bells for me. The person whose profile I'm viewing clearly isn't active on this platform. So why should I be interested in them? Try to be active at least once every couple of weeks at this section, so this section will remain interesting. Also, a word of warning. Be careful what and how you comment or like. Everyone will see it. This platform is not Twitter, where you can insult with impunity a stranger for a sexist or racist remark. Your managers, colleagues, and potential recruiters can see everything you comment on LinkedIn and trace it back to you. I'm not telling you not to show strong emotion when you feel like it, as I do this regularly when I share about causes that are important to me. I'm just cautioning you against using this platform as unthinkingly as you might other social media. A good guide is, if you can't imagine saying it in front of your colleagues around the coffee machine at the office, don't write it and share it. Let's talk about the experience section. You all probably know how to complete this section if you already have a LinkedIn profile, as it's usually the first one people fill in. I'm going to give you a few tips to make it much snazzier than it already is. First, linking to your company. By linking your experience to your current employer, you are automatically becoming a brand ambassador for your company. This is one of the reasons some companies encourage their employees to have strong, attractive, well thought out LinkedIn profiles. If a viewer clicks on your company logo, they will automatically be taken to your company's LinkedIn page. Just like that. There we go. To add your company's logo, simply click on the editing pencil, go to the company name section, start typing in your company name, and if they have a LinkedIn page, it will automatically come up. If they don't have a LinkedIn page, why don't you offer to create one for them? It can only increase their visibility by allowing all their employees, past and present, to link to it. Now, if you scroll down this menu, you come to the description section, which I beg you not to leave blank. It gives viewers the impression that you don't care for your current role and aren't growing or developing in it, which is definitely not the impression you want to give. This section is an opportunity for you to tell your story of your experience in a particular role. Forget the bullet points. Summarize as if you were explaining it at a job interview. It can be difficult to do this for your current position. I personally find I cannot create a story in my mind regarding a work experience without hindsight. So I have reverted to bullet points here for my current role, but I intend to convert them into a narrative in time. Adding media. Scroll down some more and you will see you can add media to your experience section. It can be anything from photos, PowerPoint presentations, videos, internet links, articles, Excel sheets, you name it. It could be the presentation for a project you are particularly proud of, or a picture of a product your company launched. Before you upload, however, check no confidential information appears on these documents. If you're not sure about the right to a photo or video, check with your communication or HR department. On a personal note, I have included my maternity leave in my profile. I have often been asked about the gap in my professional experience in interviews, and I feel it is something to be celebrated and not glossed over. I created my own business whilst I was also staying at home looking after my children, and a career break is something I personally think anyone should include in their profile. The education section is pretty self-explanatory. Include any courses over several months or years you may have taken at universities, schools, or colleges. And don't forget to link to the LinkedIn pages of the institution if they have them. You can also add descriptions and media to these sections if you wish. Now, licenses and certifications. I have found some people have trouble remembering courses to fill in this section. You probably have taken quite a few throughout your career, but can't remember the exact title, when they were, or what institution issued them. I encourage you to dig in your files for this information and plug them into your profile. It gives emphasis on your dedication to lifelong learning and development. I always keep a copy of any licenses and certifications I have obtained to provide proof in case an employer or recruiter asks for them. If you have done LinkedIn learning courses, these can be automatically added to your profile. Now, volunteer experience. I find people often skip over this section, which I think is a shame. Not only can you gain valuable professional skills through volunteering, but this section can showcase your interests outside of work and show that you are a well-rounded human being interested in giving back to the planet and your community. Stop Hunger, here, that you can see, is my company's charity, and I volunteer with them through work several times a year. Linking to a charity on your profile can also increase awareness around that particular organization, and you automatically become an ambassador for them as well. Now let's talk about two sections at once: skills and endorsements and recommendations. Unfortunately, these two sections are often not included in profile, and this is a serious oversight. They are most useful when looking for a new role, but even if you're not in that situation right now, it's important to start them immediately, as they can take months, even years to fill in. The skills and endorsement section is used to list your skills and not just your hard skills, like tech skills either. Do not neglect mentioning your soft skills, like management, communication, organization, etc. Recruiters search through LinkedIn using algorithms and keywords, and adding skills to your profile will increase your chances of being seen. Make sure you feature your top 3 skills prominently. To do this, click on the editing pencil and pin your top 3. They are the first that will appear in your profile and those most likely to be endorsed by colleagues. While you're here, go to Adjust Endorsement Settings and select every option available. Yeah, so that others can endorse you too. Otherwise, they won't be given the option. This is important, so do this. Okay, let's talk about recommendations now. A skill looks 100 times better if it is endorsed. Think about it. You saying you're good at something isn't nearly as convincing as 20 people backing it up. This is the edge endorsements give you. Recommendation. The recommendation section underneath is as, if not more important than the endorsement section. If you're about my age, you'll remember a time when everyone used to write the name, email address, and phone number of their managers at the bottom of their CVs so they could be called for recommendations. Nobody does that anymore, and the only people who are going to call your previous employers are recruiters. HR managers are going to take the easy route. They'll search for you on LinkedIn and go look at your written recommendations. So the more you have, the better. So it's confession time. I found it incredibly hard to get recommendations for years. Once I got serious about my LinkedIn profile, I started asking past employers for them. They all said they would do it, but none did. I was incredibly frustrated because these were colleagues who had always praised my work, and I had developed close relationships with many of them. So why weren't they helping me out when I asked? Well, the answer is people are lazy. Even if you send them the link to your profile and ask them really nicely, many won't bother. But don't worry, I have the answer for you. And the answer is start writing recommendations yourself. Go on the profile of those connections you know well and start endorsing their skills when that's an option, and write them unsolicited recommendations. Once I started doing that, I got 5 recommendations in the space of a week. That's right. The answer is to guilt trip them. As you can see from my profile, I wrote 23 recommendations and only got 6 back. And you might think giving 23 recommendations is a lot, but every one of them was sincere and heartfelt, and I carefully selected who I recommended out of my 400 or so connections. A word on recommendation etiquette. You don't have to recommend someone you don't like or value, even if asked. The choice is entirely yours. Don't lie in the recommendation. When you ask for one, accompany it with a short message explaining why their opinion is important to you. You can also follow up the request with an email, giving them a link to your profile. And if that doesn't work, you know what to do. A word of warning, don't let the format fool you. Writing someone a recommendation on LinkedIn is not like writing a post on social media, even if it is online. This is a formal, written recommendation linked to you personally. So be sincere, don't lie, keep it professional. Treat it as you would a letter of recommendation written on behalf of someone else in a Word document, because it has the same impact. Accomplishment section. I don't have a lot to say on this section because I find it less useful than the others. Click on the plus sign to add subsections to it. If you've published articles or books, won awards, or are part of organizations, don't hesitate to fill in. Personally, I have found that any information that can be included in this section can and should be placed somewhere else more strategically on your profile, like in your headline, for example, your About section, or your Licenses and Certification section. So don't worry if you have nothing to put in this section. You can confidently leave it out, and it will not diminish the impact of your profile. Let's talk a little bit about the private mode. The last thing I want to show you in the profile section is how to browse in private mode. So follow me closely because it's not simple to find. Go up here to the Me tab at the top of the page. Select Settings and Privacy. Taking a while to think about it. Then select up here on the left, Visibility. Next, visibility of your profile and network. And lastly, profile viewing options here right at the top. Click on Change. Here you will at last be able to choose what others see when you browse their profiles. And don't worry, you can change it back anytime. Now let's go back to LinkedIn. And I'm going to show you how to follow people and organizations. Did you know you can follow almost anyone on LinkedIn without necessarily being their connection? Let's use Bill Gates as an example. Go to the search bar, type in their name, go to their profile, and click here, Follow. Anyone can also follow you. I suggest you curate who you follow so that your homepage is not flooded with posts that don't interest you. LinkedIn automatically makes you follow new connections, for example. I recommend you go through your contacts and delete those you probably won't be posting news that interest you anytime soon. So you have a cleaner, leaner feed. Don't worry, they won't get notified that you have done it, and you can still contact them via LinkedIn InMail. Following a company works in exactly the same way. Just type it into the search bar and select. So I'm going to talk to you briefly about hashtags and @mentions. Go to the search bar. For our example, we will use the hashtag executive assistant. There it is. Click on it. You can see this hashtag has over 16,000 followers. Click on follow. This means that every time someone uses this hashtag in their post, you will see it come up in your feed. You can find a list of all the hashtags you are following by going to here and scrolling down. Here is where the real brand ambassador training comes in. I recommend you post at least every couple of weeks so your connections can see you are active on this network and have your ear to the ground. When you post, it is important you use hashtags, as this will greatly increase the visibility of your posts and you will gain followers and connections. Just include as many hashtags as you want at the bottom of your post. If you also think what you're saying would be of particular interest to someone, mention them. The more you use these two techniques, the more your post will be viewed. I recommend you follow your own company's LinkedIn page if they have one, and regularly share posts coming from them. Please, though, don't simply share without writing a personal comment. It's boring and few people will read it. You have to explain why what you're sharing is interesting or why the values expressed in the post are important to you. Personally, there is so much on LinkedIn, I need to be convinced to read a post. So I never open a link that's shared without a personal comment. Research shows social media users are more likely to relate to a brand when it has been personally endorsed by someone, which is why employees make the perfect brand ambassadors. Your company probably doesn't utilize their assistants in this way, so show them how it's done and make sure they know about it. Check out the diagram on algorithms in my supporting document to get a better idea of what a successful post looks like. So now let's do a post together so you can see how it's done. Now I'm going to go and find one for you that I saved from earlier. My item. Here we go. Save post. Here's the post I want to share. I'm going to go to click on the share button. First things first, I write my personal comment. So I'm going to what I like to tell. Oh, correct. Any it's there we go. I think a couple of my good friends would enjoy this, so I'm going to mention them. There, one friend, and it is another. There we go. Okay. Now for a hashtag. It doesn't necessarily have to be one I already follow. LinkedIn will even suggest some for you. And all you have to do is click and select. I'm going to go with off and leadership. There we go. Sounds good. Leadership lesson. Okay, now you're ready. You can hit post. It's that easy, and it takes 5 minutes. Now, and leave you with a few little tidbits that I hope you will find helpful. First, I want to tell you about networking. This is something assistants rarely do, and it's a crying shame. We are naturally talented at it, but we don't use that talent on professional social networks. I didn't do it either until a year ago. I learned through watching my own manager. Whenever she attends a virtual event, she looks for the attendees on LinkedIn afterwards and asks to connect. I now do the same. Okay, yes, most of my connections are other assistants because they are my team, who I work with on a daily basis. But when I share a post from my company and they like or comment it, their managers in turn will see it on their feed, and I've just successfully acted as a brand ambassador for my company. You will notice I say connections all the time, not friends. LinkedIn is not Facebook. I'm going to repeat this again for emphasis. LinkedIn is not Facebook. On Facebook, I'm incredibly careful who I accept friend requests from. My rule is, if I haven't met them in person, it's enough. I have personal photos and information on there, which I don't want strangers seeing. However, on LinkedIn, there's nothing there I am not happy to share with the world. If someone sends me a connection request on LinkedIn, I usually accept it. No questions asked. The more connections you have on LinkedIn, the more followers you will have, and the better that is for your and your company's visibility. So don't be stingy. And yes, you will occasionally get a connection request from a strange man in China who wants to sell you staplers. But you are perfectly entitled to ignore them. And to be honest, it doesn't happen that often. So to summarize, the more connections, the merrier. And don't be shy about asking people as connections, even well-known people. Sure, you don't know them, but you probably have common interests. The etiquette in this situation is to write a short message with your connection request and point these interests out. More often than not, your request will be accepted. Be daring. A last piece of advice I will give before I leave you. Your profile is not set in stone. You can amend it and add sections at any time. Play around and have fun with it. And don't get disheartened if updating your profile takes longer than you initially planned. What I've just shown you aren't things that get done in half an hour on a Friday afternoon when you have nothing better to do. You have to put thought and planning into your profile, and it will take at least a few weeks of work to put it into satisfying shape. I'm still not 100% happy with mine, and I've been tweaking it for 2 years. An idea now would be to share with your colleagues what you've learned here, and maybe even offer to manage your executive's profile, seeing as you're so good at it now. And if you feel at ease on this platform, why not approach your company HR or communications department about being a brand ambassador or an employee advocate? Don't forget to check out my support document for further reading and viewing on all the points we've just talked about. And thank you all for listening.